All right, here we go. We are back in the lab. Time for another film study. And today we are going to be examining the Philadelphia Eagles. Kind of. We're going to be talking about who I think is one of the most intriguing hires of the entire offseason in the NFL. It's not anyone that you may have heard of before if you're an NFL fan. It is someone who I think is going to have a big impact on Jalen Hurts' development this year. And I'm talking about Scott Loeffler. Who the heck is Scott Loeffler? Well, besides Chip Kelly, who we talked about a couple weeks ago, and thank you very much for watching that film study, over 11,000 views on YouTube, one of my most watched videos ever. Hopefully this one exceeds it. So other than Chip Kelly, only one other coach that I can find, I'm sure there's probably like an assistant down there, some video intern that probably got brought in from college and got promoted from the college ranks to the NFL. But I'm talking about high-profile jobs, right? Offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, guys working with the most important players on the team. Scott Laughler is one of the only, besides Chip Kelly, college coaches to make the jump to the NFL. For the last 5 years, Scott Laughler has been the head coach of Bowling Green. Yes, so Chip Kelly, who came from Ohio State as an offensive coordinator, who's been in the NFL before, who's been a head coach in the NFL before, that move made sense going from Ohio State to the Las Vegas Raiders. But you have to kind of scratch your head a little bit when you think about Bowling Green, the head coach of Bowling Green, who's been there only 5 years and has only had one other NFL job way back in like the early 2000s, making the jump to the NFL to work with Jalen Hurts and the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. I thought this was a very curious hire. Who is Scott Loeffler? Played at Michigan. Actually coached Tom Brady after his playing days were over. Had a really deep resume of college jobs. I mean, he coached Tim Tebow with the Florida Gators, quarterbacks coach, coached at Temple, Auburn, Virginia Tech, Boston College, and then for the last 5 years at Bowling Green. He's had one NFL job with the Lions, but he's been a college coach pretty much his entire career. Has done a great job turning around the Bowling Green program. They had a very explosive offense this year. It helped that they had one of the best tight ends in college football, which we'll get to his stuff in just a minute. But I just thought that was a really intriguing hire. So we're going to dive into Scott Loeffler's offense with Bowling Green, and we're going to try to identify some of the concepts that not only he's used in his past, but some of the things that I think he will take with him to the NFL and implement with Jalen Hurts. It is a really interesting offensive room for the Eagles, right? Kellen Moore, who did a great job last year as the offensive coordinator, he's now the head coach in New Orleans. So they promote from within Kevin Patullo, and Patullo's younger than Loeffler, so Loeffler has more experience than Patullo. So I just thought it was really interesting that they decided to bring someone else in from completely off the beaten path. I mean, someone who you would not think is going to make the jump to the NFL, a head coach at a MAC school, and now he is working directly with Jalen Hurts. So my conspiracy theory is maybe the offensive play calling room with Patullo and Nick Sirianni not quite as buttoned up as you would think, and they are still very interested in some outside voices trying to help Jalen Hurts continue to develop as a quarterback. I think Patullo, I mean, we've seen these situations with the Eagles unravel very quickly. If things don't go well with the Eagles offense this year, I would not be surprised if Scott Loeffler has a little bit more influence in that room than maybe we expect a normal quarterback's coach to have. So very interesting things happening with the Eagles, of course, the defending champs, and I'm fascinated to see how things develop this year. But let's get into the film. So I am going to show you film today from Scott Loeffler's, one of his best, I would say one of the best games that he's called, at least recently. And that is the opening game for Bowling Green last year against Penn State. This is actually week 2, but this is really the first important game for Bowling Green. I think they beat a really poor team in their week 1 game. So they're 1-0, and they're coming into Happy Valley, and they're trying to show Penn State, hey, listen, we can hang with you guys. Now, of course, this is a Penn State defense that was one of the best defenses in college football last year. One of the best teams in college football last year, made it to the college football playoff semifinals. And Scott Laughler says, you know what? First play of the game, right? Bowling Green, I forget who won the toss, but Bowling Green has the ball first. This is the first play of the game. And what's Scott Laughler going to do? So, you can see that at the snap, Penn State's kind of showing you cover 2. This safety, the play started just a hair late here. So we're already kind of like the snap's already been had. Let me see if I can rewind it to the actual beginning of the video. Now, I kind of started this film a little late, so you're just going to have to trust me on this. But that safety, this safety right here, started a little bit further away from the line of scrimmage. So Penn State was showing you a little bit of cover 2 at the snap. But once the ball is snapped, and I'll let it run just for a second here, you see that safety jump down into the box. Penn State's kind of giving you a cover 3 look here, because you get one safety deep, and then you get these two corners with their butts to the sideline, which is telling me zone coverage. And it was kind of unique because I was impressed that first play of the game, I mean, Bowling Green's just running 4 verticals. That's it. Simple but aggressive. We are here. We are showing up today. First play of the freaking game, 4 verticals, smoke route, go. And there's Fannin right there, Harold Fannin, who is arguably one of the best tight ends in the country, and he's going to be utilized heavily in this game. So this is a tough ask for the safety, right? Safety jumps down into the box, and he probably thinks there was a little bit of play action here. Let me run it back to the top. There was a little bit of play action here. Having trouble with my film today, everyone. I apologize for this. Having trouble getting it back to the line of scrimmage. So there's a little bit of play action here, and that's why the safety kind of jumped. And Fannin's just going to run this vertical route. They're all running vertical routes. Everyone's running vertical. And, hey, quarterback makes a pretty nice throw. Right up the seam. See that pocket right there? Free safety was playing really deep. And I think this is Connor Bazelak, the quarterback for Bowling Green, who's not very a gifted quarterback. But, hey, listen, good coaching. Sometimes you put the ball in the right spot, you make the right read. Doesn't matter if you got the strongest arm. There's the pocket right there. Bazelak puts it right on the money. Nice. I mean, the safety almost got there. First play of the game, Harold Fannin up the seam for about a 30-yard gain. So this is how you start the game if you're Bowling Green. And again, this to me speaks to who Scott Loeffler is. We're not scared. We're a 30-point underdog in this game. Bowling Green, I think they were plus 32. I remember I bet Penn State in this game foolishly because Bowling Green not only covered, but they had the lead for a good portion of the first half. And you got to be really impressed with the aggressiveness. Again, Bowling Green's a huge underdog in this game. First play of the freaking game, 4 verticals. All right, couple plays later, 3rd and 6, first real money play of the game. Bowling Green's going to come out in a formation called trips nub. What's trips nub? We're going to see a lot of this, and I think you're going to see a lot of this with the Eagles next year as well. I forget if Kellen Moore ran this last year, to be perfectly honest with you. But trips nub, to me, is a very useful formation in the NFL because you are overloading one side, right? Trips to one side, and then the nub is the tight end on the other side. So you're really making the secondary commit. And you could see Penn State here, all 3 secondary players, and this is actually a linebacker safety. That's a corner, safety, linebacker. But the one thing you notice about all 3 of these players is they're on all 3 different levels, right? Short, intermediate, deep. And what this does to me, it tells me man coverage. And it also tells me that you have an opportunity to run some man beaters. And you're kind of getting a man coverage look because you get a single high safety up top. But you have an opportunity to run some man beaters here. So what is Bowling Green going to run? Rub route. We see this concept run in the NFL all the time. So the inside guy is going to run a vertical. Outside guy is going to run the post. And let me see. To be fair, I think the inside guys, I think the middle guy runs the post here. I forget. I think I might have gotten that wrong. Yeah. So this is kind of actually, what does he do? Yeah, he's running a little bit of a drag route there. So see, this is what happens when you write your film stuff down and you don't write it down correctly. So inside guy's running the vertical, outside guy's going to run the post right there. And you could see it open up, right? You could see the middle of the field here is open on this man concept. Linebacker on the backside doesn't have the time. This linebacker on the backside does not have the time to get into the middle. And Penn State does not do a good job of this. Again, first drive of the game, Penn State's probably trying to figure out what Bowling Green's going to do. They don't banjo this. What do I mean by banjo? Banjo is when you pass one defender passes off one of the receivers to the inside guy. So what Penn State should have done here is they should have banjoed this, right? This safety should have passed off this post to this corner or this inside linebacker right here. And this linebacker should have flowed into the middle of the field and broken this up. But Penn State doesn't banjo it. They allow the receiver to get inside, right? See this corner, this safety, try to get over the top to try to guard that. Really bad job by Penn State. Good job by Bowling Green to recognize Penn State's in-man coverage. They're not banjoing. The rub route is going to be open. And Bazelak, this is easy. I mean, look how much space. He's got 4 or 5 yards of space between his next close defender. This is 3rd and 6. This is not 1st and 10. And Penn State did a really poor job here in man coverage. And Bazelak made a nice pitch and catch, sets up a first down. So right out of the gate, you see 4 verticals, which is very aggressive against man coverage. And then you start to see these NFL concepts sprinkled into the Bowling Green offense. Rub route, no banjo, hit the post, 1st and 10. All of a sudden, Bowling Green is cooking with gas. All right, let's continue here. So next drive, right? Or, next play on the drive. We've got a drive going, right? We had a nice 1st and 10 play, 4 verticals, 30-yard gain. We got our best player, Fannin, involved early. He's a beast, by the way. We're going to see a little bit of him later on in this drive. Now we picked up the first down on 3rd down. Now we're cooking with gas, right? 1st and 10. We're inside the 40, scoring territory. It looks like Penn State's just giving us man coverage, right? Single high safety. These guys are locked up in man. They're not looking in to the quarterback. If I let the play start right here, you could tell the difference between man coverage and zone coverage. Once the ball is snapped, where are the corners looking? Are they looking at the quarterback? Are their butts to the sideline? Or are their butts to the end zone locked into man coverage? Obviously, they are locked into man, single high safety. This is basic coverage. Easy pickings for Bowling Green. What are they going to do again? 1st and 10 inside the 40. Loeffler says, screw it. We're getting aggressive. 4 verticals. Boom, 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 boom. Now, here in this particular situation, they figured out that Fannin's their best player, and the safety's going to kind of protect over the top, right? That's Fannin right here. This is the best player on the field right now on offense. So you see Penn State at least understand that we need to give safety help over the top to Fannin. So now Bazelak's got a decision to make, right? He's got his best player double covered. We got to go somewhere else. I love this opportunity here. You get Bazelak probably picked which side of the field he wanted to throw to. You could tell he's looking left to start, probably to get this safety to maybe try to go over the top here a little bit, but it doesn't work. The safety's locked in. I mean, look, the safety's pretty much locked in on Fannin right here. But look, you got one-on-one coverage on the outside, and you got no safety help over the top if you look the safety off. And this is just a good job by Bazelak with a nice little pitch and catch. Back shoulder throw, almost impossible to defend. Let's look at this from the tight angle. I mean, the safety's just completely locked in. There's Fannin running his vertical route. He's going to be covered here. And I like Bazelak looking left at the start. He knows he's going. He probably looked at the snap, and he's like, all right, safety over the top of Fannin. I don't think that's going to be open like it was on the first play of the game. Let's look left and throw right. And this is something that quarterbacks do, manipulate the line of scrimmage with their eyes, manipulate the safeties with their eyes. And this is just a good job by Bazelak, right? At the last minute, he opens up to the right, and he throws to the right side. You already know the back shoulder is going to be there. This is just a good pitch and catch. You cannot defend that in the NFL. I've seen A.J. Brown do this a million times. This is something that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown love to do. You're going to give me – and you got to play single high safety against the Eagles because you got to bring that safety down. And you got to protect against Saquon Barkley. The Eagles are going to see a lot of single high man coverage last year. And I wrote this down because I was curious. But Jalen Hurts was fantastic in man last year. He was actually one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of EPA per play. 3rd best in man coverage, EPA per dropback last year. Against zone, not so great, 22nd. So I like when the Eagles get man coverage, they are going to take advantage of it. And I think Scott Loeffler is going to have a positive impact on Jalen Hurts' development and allow him to continue to make these throws. This is Hurts to A.J. Brown written all over it. Man-to-man coverage on the outside, back shoulder fade. You can't defend it. So now we're really cooking with gas, right? We've gone from 4 verticals on the first play of the game, third down pickup on a nice little rub route, another 4 verticals. We threw a back shoulder fade, perfect. I mean, this is the first drive of the game. Penn State fans probably in Happy Valley right now are not thrilled with how their defense is playing. So now we're on the goal line. And again, Bowling Green knows Penn State's playing a lot of man coverage. And we know from the third down play that they're not banjoing. They're not passing off the receivers from one route coverage, from one route concept to the next. We're going to see now. So we saw the rub route, very popular NFL concept. Scott Loeffler, again, very smart. Now we're going to see a snag concept, another very popular concept that I see run in the NFL all the time. And what formation is it going to be run out of? Oh, guess what? We recognize this formation. Trips, nub. I think you're going to see a lot of trips for the Eagles next year, and I would not be surprised if it's trips nub, with Dallas Goedert, of course, being the nub. All right, so this is, again, snag concept. Here's Fannin on the inside, best player on the field. What's he going to do? Oh, excuse me. Actually, Fannin's going in motion here. They did run some motion. So we're still in trips nub, but we ran a little bit of motion. Fannin is your inside receiver, and he is just going to run the out route. We're also going to see the drag route across the middle, and then we're going to see this middle receiver run the corner route. So the goal is very similar to what we did in the rub concept, right? We're trying to get Fannin open on that out route, and we're trying to get this drag receiver to kind of run a pick play for this inside linebacker. And Bowling Green runs this exceptionally. Why? No banjo for Penn State. And also, just like we saw on that third down play, the Penn State defenders here are all kind of on different levels, right? You get one guy pressed up close, you get one guy kind of intermediate, and then the middle guy is playing deep. So this is a very easy concept for Bowling Green to run, considering Penn State is playing man coverage and they're not banjoing. So just watch how easy this play develops for Bowling Green. There's your out route with Fannin. Linebacker trying to get through all that mess, and he's got no shot. And I want to show you this from the tight angle because you really see it develop from the tight angle. So here's Fannin again. He's just going to run that little out route. But watch the outside receiver right there, right? Kind of running that little drag route, and he's trying to get out of the way so he doesn't make contact with the linebacker. He does a good job kind of sliding his body. And it's just a really good concept. Again, a little bit of a drag where he's kind of getting out of the way but still picking that linebacker. And then Fannin's just going to make easy money to the back to the front pylon here. I mean, this is I could make this throw. Honestly, this is it's a 5-yard throw on an out route to your best receiver. I mean, Harold Fannin catches this, and he's got tons of space, and he can basically glide into the end zone. So how about that? First drive of the game, Bowling Green, Scot Loeffler, genius script, understands that Penn State's going to be aggressive, man coverage. They don't think Bowling Green's players can win one-on-one against them. How do we beat man coverage? Rub routes, snag concept, 4 verticals. Executed to perfection. All right, Penn State scores on the next drive. So, surprise. They're a 30-point favorite, and they scored a touchdown on their opening drive. Surprise, surprise. So, we're tied at 7. Bowling Green's got the ball back. Man, we got to stay aggressive here. We got to figure out a way to stay on the front foot because we want to win this game. They're not going to win this game, but I applaud Scott Laughler for putting his best foot forward on the road in Happy Valley against a really good defense. 2nd and 8, Bowling Green is inside their own 30-yard line. And again, we know Penn State doesn't respect our athletes. They think they can line up in man-to-man coverage and beat us. So what are we going to do? We're going to run more man beaters, and we're going to get our best player involved. Harold Fannin on a little tight end leak. And I love this play is incredibly well designed, and you almost have to just watch it first before I can explain it. So they're going to motion into some I formation. And again, once Penn State runs with this motion, you can tell that they're in man coverage again. And that allows Bazelak to execute this play the way he wants to. So you're going to get a little play action right off the top. It's 1st and 10, so Penn State thinks they're running it. And then you're going to get Fannin, who's right here, kind of just chilling on the end of the line of scrimmage. After the play action, he's going to act like he's blocking, and he's just going to leak out here to the side, right to the opposite side of where the play action was. So all of Penn State's defense is flowing this way. I formation, 2 tight ends, or really it's, 2 tight ends, I think. No, only 1 tight end, excuse me. Although this guy's kind of lined up like a slot receiver who is acting kind of like a tight end. But it's a very tight formation, right? Everyone is inside the hash marks pretty much. You don't have a receiver out here. You don't have a receiver out here that's stretching the defense out. So Penn State's thinking run. So you motion to I formation. You run this little play action. Fannin's going to act like he's blocking in there. Oh, we're blocking, run block, running play. And then he's just going to leak out right here. And look how wide open he is. I mean, there is absolutely nobody within 5 yards of him when he catches the ball. He's one-on-one with a safety. By the way, Harold Fannin is 6'3", 240 pounds. Good luck tackling him one-on-one in the open field with a safety. So what do you think he does here? He's going to basically make a nice move, run past the safety, and pick up about 15, 20 yards for a first down. Again, watch how well-designed this play is. These are all the players for Bowling Green. All the offensive players essentially within the hash marks. You have one guy that's just outside the hash, but to be fair, the ball is kind of not in the center of the field. So if this ball is in the center of the field, I think all 11 guys for Bowling Green are probably within the hash mark. So this is tight formation. We're running the ball, 1st and 10, smash mouth football. But just a nice little concept here by Bowling Green to be able to get their best player, Harold Fannin, out in space on a play action with nobody around him. And the rest of it is all Harold Fannin as he continues to show you just how good he is. This is so where I'm at right now with Bowling Green is I was surprised that we saw a head coach from the group of 5 make the jump to the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champs, as a quarterback coach. It's a big jump. I think you're going to see a lot of concepts like this for Jalen Hurts this year. Not saying that Kellen Moore didn't run these concepts last year, but I think getting Jalen Hurts in situations where he's facing man coverage is very important. Now, a lot of defenses are probably going to try to throw zone at him. Again, when I was looking at the zone coverage efficiency ranks for Jalen Hurts last year, he was 3rd against man coverage, 3rd best EPA per dropback against man coverage last year. In 2023, he was 22nd. So he made a lot of improvements against man coverage. Last year against 2 high safeties, which is zone coverage pretty much, cover 2, he was essentially flat, 0.00 EPA per dropback, which was the 22nd best ranking of any quarterback in the NFL. But if you're going to play man coverage against the Eagles, A.J. Brown, 6'1", 225. Dallas Goedert, 6'5", 256. Johnny Wilson, who is a guy we don't know a lot about yet, who's a younger receiver, 6'6", 230. And you got to deal with Saquon Barkley in the run game, which is why I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a lot of opportunities for man coverage again this year. But Scott Loeffler is a guy that I think can get Jalen into the right coverage. And I think this is why this marriage is so intriguing. Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, I'm not quite sure how much stable ground he is standing on. This is a team in Philly that has very high expectations. If Patullo is not pushing the right buttons, I would not be surprised if Scott Loeffler gets a chance calling plays. Like, let's say the Eagles season is a disaster. They lose to the Cowboys week 1. They're struggling to start, to get their offense going. There's a Super Bowl hangover. I would not be surprised if Scott Laughler has a bigger influence in the offensive play calling scheme than a normal quarterback's coach has. Remember, Laughler has significantly more experience coaching than Kevin Patullo. He's 6 years older. He's coached Tom Brady, Tim Tebow. This is not a knock on Patullo. I just thought it was a very curious hire. You do not see MAC head coaches make the jump to the NFL very often. In fact, I'd be willing to bet it's one of the few that we've seen ever. So when I saw that, I'm thinking to myself, well, what does Loeffler have that the Eagles covet, that they need? Well, he has experience coaching high-level quarterbacks and the ability to, I think, take less talent, Bowling Green, and bring them to a higher level. Well, now he has probably the best roster in the NFL, one of, and I think this is going to be an opportunity for Loeffler to really showcase his play calling skills and his ability to coach the quarterback. So fascinated to see how the Scot Loeffler Philadelphia Eagles marriage works out this year. I think it's more about Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni and how that dynamic develops. But as always, it will be very interesting to watch in the city of brotherly love this season.